Chapter 36. I already hate this hunt. You're just a sore loser, lass. Just because I end up being a loser a bit too often for my taste. Loth looks like the very picture of innocence, which I find extremely suspicious. I insist that we change the way we select who will go first every time, and yet I still lose. Surely, Loth is not capable of cheating at every game. Surely. Wipe that smirk off your face, mister. A howl interrupts his answer. I know how wolves sound. Their songs are eerie, beautiful, and if you are outside, frightening. It does not compare to the grating abomination I am hearing now. More importantly, Loth, there are two of them. I heard. We need to help him. No, we need to trust him. Loth is about to hold me back with an extended arm, then thinks better of it. Our eyes meet briefly. I hope that you can provide me with a good reason, Loth. This is the lad's first outing. Don't clip his wings. Let him give a good accounting of himself. Have some faith, Ariane. I grind my teeth in frustration. I don't want him to get hurt. I need to let him hunt in my name. Yes, that seems fair. He is my vassal. He will take down those curs like the mongrels they are. In the clearing in front of us, torches burn at regular intervals centered around a butchered horse covered with 3 chalices of human blood. Dalton stands straight with Loth's latest iteration of the wolf slayer in his steady hands. A boar spear with a silver inlay is dug into the ground at his feet. Even my vampire senses can barely pick up any fear in him, only anticipation and the thrill of the deadly struggle to come. My vassal chose the location himself, with the rationale that a clear line of sight was the most important thing to have. Loth did not comment, so the idea must have merit, although I would prefer to hunt them myself and mangle them limb from limb, except, I gave my word. Dalton drew the short straw and the attempt is his. They come. I lean forward in anticipation. Wood creaks and groans under the push of a massive body. Dalton turns and kneels. The wolf slayer is a massive crossbow. Its draw strength is guaranteed by an elegant system of pulleys and taut metallic strings. It must be heavy for a mortal, though looking at Dalton, you could not tell. He holds it with ease born out of rigorous practice. A hulking abomination crashes through the vegetation into the clearing. It spots Dalton. Dalton aims, and waits. The werewolf runs to him on all fours, its strange gait an obscene parody of nature. Dalton waits. The creature screams its rage and its thirst for blood, claws digging furrows in the tortured ground. 40 paces away. 30. Dalton waits. 25. I hear the twang of strained cords finally released. I do not see the barbed silver quarrel leave its slot. It is simply too fast. The werewolf's head explodes in a cloud of blood and brain matter. Its body drops in a tangle of monstrous limbs. Dalton stands up and brings out 2 pistols from the holsters on his hips as a second dark shape overtakes the first. He fires 1 second before the thing reaches him. The werewolf raises a paw to his ruined eyes but does not stop. The yowling form barrels past him as he rolls to the side, grabbing the boar spear. Before the blinded beast can recover, my vassal buries his silver blade deep under its armpit. The creature shivers and struggles in vain. Dalton manages to keep it at bay through power and balance. With every movement its wound only becomes more grievous. Carmine blood soon spreads in a pool around it. With proper preparation and deadly skill, Dalton took down 2 of the most dangerous supernatural creatures of the land. Come and partake, mistress, before it is too late. I moved to his side with pride in my chest. He did so well. I feed quickly. It tastes exquisite, like a hard-won prize. An offering worthy of any king. When I come to, Loth is congratulating Dalton on his aim and his courage. Ice cold lad. We'll make a sharpshooter out of you yet. Thank you, my dear vassal, for the show and for the meal. Now, I shall. Wait. Shh. I hear something. Both men immediately fall silent, even their breathing grows subdued. I close my eyes and focus on listening. I hear the beating hearts of my companions, fire burning softly on the torches, the many sounds of the forest, and behind that, footsteps. A group of creatures is approaching us. They are confident if cautious. I focus on them. For a single moment, my ears are cleared of everything but them, then a furious headache makes me recoil. I scowl at the discomfort. There is still much for me to learn, but now I know enough. Group of men, 3 or maybe 4. I heard creaking leather and metal, so they must be armed. I turn to Loth, and so does Dalton. Tonight we went hunting at his behest, and this is his territory. By right the decision should be his. We hide and observe. I fetch the quarrel while the others take the boar spear and crossbow. We run to cover. We do not have to wait long before the intruders make themselves known. 3 men in the now familiar leather outfit of the Order of Gabriel trudge through the undergrowth and stop at the edge of the clearing. I lean towards Loth and ask, "What do you want to do?" "We need to kill them all." Reasonable. Just then, I catch a whiff of them. Sweat, fear, and under this, one of them is. Now that is interesting. Can I try something? Sure thing, lass, it's your turn, but they don't leave the clearing alive. Very well. I move out of sight to my backpack and change into my traveling dress as fast as I can. I enter the clearing from the side just as the others do. I crawl between the rings of light cast by our torches to a spot on the ground not too far from the 2 werewolf corpses. Now that I think about it, I did not know they could hunt in pairs. Loth never mentioned it was possible. Bah, it probably is just an anomaly. Nothing to concern myself over. The trio walks towards the center of the clearing with one man looking back at all times. I find it striking that they would adopt this formation, clearly designed to fight werewolves. The corpses of the 2 monstrosities are squat between 2 torches, clearly visible from where they are. The death of their prey as well as the presence of torches should hint that their enemies, if indeed they are enemies, use tools. With this logic, walking slowly out in the open and in sight of everyone is the last thing they should do. I focus on hearing again and confirm that they are not being followed. It appears that ancient vampires do not have a monopoly on rigid mindset. Chapter 36. I already hate this hunt. You're just a sore loser, lass. Just because I end up being a loser a bit too often for my taste. Loth looks like the very picture of innocence, which I find extremely suspicious. I insist that we change the way we select who will go first every time, and yet I still lose. Surely, Loth is not capable of cheating at every game. Surely. Wipe that smirk off your face, mister. A howl interrupts his answer. I know how wolves sound. Their songs are eerie, beautiful, and if you are outside, frightening. It does not compare to the grating abomination I am hearing now. More importantly, Loth, there are 2 of them. I heard. We need to help him. No, we need to trust him. Loth is about to hold me back with an extended arm, then thinks better of it. Our eyes meet briefly. I hope that you can provide me with a good reason, Loth. This is the lad's first outing. Don't clip his wings. Let him give a good accounting of himself. Have some faith, Ariane. I grind my teeth in frustration. I don't want him to get hurt. I need to let him hunt in my name. Yes, that seems fair. He is my vassal, he will take down those curs like the mongrels they are. In the clearing in front of us, torches burn at regular intervals centered around a butchered horse covered with 3 chalices of human blood. Dalton stands straight with Loth's latest iteration of the wolf slayer in his steady hands. A boar spear with a silver inlay is dug into the ground at his feet. Even my vampire senses can barely pick up any fear in him, only anticipation and the thrill of the deadly struggle to come. My vassal chose the location himself, with the rationale that a clear line of sight was the most important thing to have. Loth did not comment, so the idea must have merit, although I would prefer to hunt them myself and mangle them limb from limb, except, I gave my word. Dalton drew the short straw and the attempt is his. They come. I lean forward in anticipation. Wood creaks and groans under the push of a massive body. Dalton turns and kneels. The wolf slayer is a massive crossbow. Its draw strength is guaranteed by an elegant system of pulleys and taut metallic strings. It must be heavy for a mortal, though looking at Dalton, you could not tell. He holds it with ease born out of rigorous practice. A hulking abomination crashes through the vegetation into the clearing. It spots Dalton. Dalton aims, and waits. The werewolf runs to him on all fours, its strange gait an obscene parody of nature. Dalton waits. The creature screams its rage and its thirst for blood, claws digging furrows in the tortured ground. 40 paces away. 30. Dalton waits. 25. I hear the twang of strained cords finally released. I do not see the barbed silver quarrel leave its slot. It is simply too fast. The werewolf's head explodes in a cloud of blood and brain matter. Its body drops in a tangle of monstrous limbs. Dalton stands up and brings out 2 pistols from the holsters on his hips as a second dark shape overtakes the first. He fires 1 second before the thing reaches him. The werewolf raises a paw to his ruined eyes but does not stop. The yowling form barrels past him as he rolls to the side, grabbing the boar spear. Before the blinded beast can recover, my vassal buries his silver blade deep under its armpit. The creature shivers and struggles in vain. Dalton manages to keep it at bay through power and balance. With every movement its wound only becomes more grievous. Carmine blood soon spreads in a pool around it. With proper preparation and deadly skill, Dalton took down 2 of the most dangerous supernatural creatures of the land. Come and partake, mistress, before it is too late. I moved to his side with pride in my chest. He did so well. I feed quickly. It tastes exquisite, like a hard-won prize. An offering worthy of any king. When I come to, Loth is congratulating Dalton on his aim and his courage. Ice cold lad. We'll make a sharpshooter out of you yet. Thank you, my dear vassal, for the show and for the meal. Now, I shall. Wait. Shh. I hear something. Both men immediately fall silent, even their breathing grows subdued. I close my eyes and focus on listening. I hear the beating hearts of my companions, fire burning softly on the torches, the many sounds of the forest, and behind that, footsteps. A group of creatures is approaching us. They are confident if cautious. I focus on them. For a single moment, my ears are cleared of everything but them, then a furious headache makes me recoil. I scowl at the discomfort. There is still much for me to learn, but now I know enough. Group of men, 3 or maybe 4. I heard creaking leather and metal, so they must be armed. I turn to Loth and so does Dalton. Tonight we went hunting at his behest, and this is his territory. By right the decision should be his. We hide and observe. I fetch the quarrel while the others take the boar spear and crossbow. We run to cover. We do not have to wait long before the intruders make themselves known. 3 men in the now familiar leather outfit of the Order of Gabriel trudge through the undergrowth and stop at the edge of the clearing. I lean towards Loth and ask, "What do you want to do?" "We need to kill them all." Reasonable. Just then, I catch a whiff of them. Sweat, fear, and under this, one of them is. Now that is interesting. Can I try something? Sure thing, lass, it's your turn, but they don't leave the clearing alive. Very well. I move out of sight to my backpack and change into my traveling dress as fast as I can. I enter the clearing from the side just as the others do. I crawl between the rings of light cast by our torches to a spot on the ground not too far from the 2 werewolf corpses. Now that I think about it, I did not know they could hunt in pairs. Loth never mentioned it was possible. Bah, it probably is just an anomaly. Nothing to concern myself over. The trio walks towards the center of the clearing with one man looking back at all times. I find it striking that they would adopt this formation, clearly designed to fight werewolves. The corpses of the 2 monstrosities are squat between 2 torches, clearly visible from where they are. The death of their prey as well as the presence of torches should hint that their enemies, if indeed they are enemies, use tools. With this logic, walking slowly out in the open and in sight of everyone is the last thing they should do. I focus on hearing again and confirm that they are not being followed. It appears that ancient vampires do not have a monopoly on rigid mindsets. I should not be surprised. Once more, I am putting too much effort in a confrontation that could have been solved at the speed of the crossbow's muzzle velocity. Ah well, at least I can make it interesting. I feel the threads of a beautiful rendition of The Turning of a Friend blooming before me. Improvised, Of course, but still interesting. The trio reaches the two monster corpses. One of them touches the body of one of the beasts. Still warm. We should. I sneeze. 3 lanterns turn on me with blinding glare. I lift an arm to shield my eyes. Please? Don't hurt me. Heavy footsteps draw close. A hand closes on my wrist and drags me to the floor. I yelp in surprise and pain. No. Please. A woman? Here? Who are you? What are you doing here? Says the one who manhandled me, now on my left. I whimper in fear, my eyes still closed. I am but a poor defenseless woman in a dark and isolated forest. 3 men have me at their mercy. Anything could happen. I am terrified. Calm, Gamelin, can't you see you're scaring her half to death? You, woman, what's your name? Asks the man in the middle. Matilda, sir, Matilda Wallace. What are you doing out there at this hour, huh? Says a bitter man on my right. It's not my fault. I did not want to be here, but he took me. Who? Who took you? I don't know. Aman. I don't know him. Hold on, start from the beginning. And you two, keep a look around. What is this, a picnic? With the lanterns away from my face, I raise my eyes to their leader. I blink rapidly to clear them. He is an older gentleman with sideburns. More interesting is that I cannot charm him. All 3 men are surrounded by a sort of cocoon centered around their cross. There is no bond between us, and when I try to force it I only receive a jolt that feels distinctly like a warning. Something like the taste of ash at the back of my tongue. Very well, the old-fashioned way it is. I was on my way to Hull. Not far from here. I wave my arm south. We crossed the hamlet on our way here. Then this tall man covered with weapons jumped out of the woods. I was so afraid. What sort of weapons? Well, I saw, guns. Women. Adds the bitter man. I am pretty sure he's the one with the interesting smell. Just you wait, you yellow-livered halfwit. Dale, will you shut up for one blessed second, please? Miss Wallace, was it? What sort of guns? Well, at least 2 pistols. Maybe more. Go on. He also had a strange sort of bow. With a handle. A crossbow? I don't know, sir, I did not see a cross. Dale's niggers. With a supreme effort, Sideburns refrains from cuffing him. Anything else? Yes, he had a spear. It was a hunting spear, I think. I saw my father use the same. That's not one of us. Dale, one more word and I will use you as live bait. Miss Wallace, the man, what did he look like? A very tall man, strong as a bull he was. He had a big red beard, flat nose and a ring above his right eye. I just described Rolf Stonehead, possibly the dumbest of Loth's relatives. Somewhere in the tree line, someone chuckles softly. A ring, you say? I nod frantically. Why should we believe that hussy? Any respectable woman should be in bed at this hour. She probably followed him here for a tryst. I may be a scared lone woman, but those accusations sting my pride, and so I must show it. That is not charitable of you, sir. I claim. The fear of the demon-like creature must soon reassert itself, however. Ooh, this is a nightmare. This cannot be real. Miss, look at me. Although the leader of the squad affects kindness, his eyes remain calculating. This one is sharper than the rest. He can feel that something is wrong. Tell me, what happened after? I lower my head and close my eyes, doing my best to remember. He grabbed me. He was strong and I was scared, so I did not fight him. It didn't hurt. He said he needed bait. Dale and Gameling exchange whispers. Who might he be, an independent hunter? One of the devil worshippers perhaps? I go on. Then he dragged me through the woods. He did not answer my questions, or my pleas. He only told me to shut up. A wise decision. Sideburns stands up and floors his subordinate with a powerful right hook. I cover my head and yelp at the sudden violence. I have to admit, it was done beautifully. To my inner delight, Dale growls. A flicker of doubt crosses Sideburns' otherwise stern expression. In typical fashion, he dismisses it almost immediately. Yes, mortal, you are so close to understanding, and yet you dare not face the truth. Then what? I swallow with difficulty, intimidated by the clearly dangerous man in front of me. And then, he brought me here. There was a horse carcass. And torches. Go on. When night fell, he used a syringe to draw some blood, I say as I massage the crook of my left arm, and he just spilled it on the body. I thought he was a lunatic and he would do some evil ritual. What tells you that he didn't? Ah, a solid observation. This would destabilize many a liar. I don't know. He dragged me to the side and he just stood there. Did not say a word until. My voice quivers and I grab my head and collapse on the ground. My breath comes hard and fast and one of my hands is on my heart, as if to calm down its panic. Are those demons? They're godless creatures. That is all you need to know. He turns to leave. What, going so soon? Wait. Please. Sideburns would ignore me, but leaving a woman defenseless is more than he can tolerate. I have a short window of opportunity. Do you live nearby? Can't I come with you? No, we do not. And no, you cannot. Don't leave me here, please. Listen, they are dead now, so we should be safe. What if there are more of them? There are none. We have been tracking those two for 3 days now. There are no others. Ah, so they already fought those creatures, and that is how Deerdale ended up cursed. The fact that they have been traveling for 3 days also means that their base is relatively far. Perhaps Loth knows more. Now for the finish. Then at least come back to Hull with me for the night. You will be able to rest. You should not walk around with one of you bleeding like that. They all stop. Oh, yes. This is so precious, the fateful moment when the seed of doubt blooms into a beautiful, tainted flower. What did you just say? Nothing. Nothing. I'm sorry. I did not mean to imply anything. I yell in terror. Sideburns grabs me by the collar and hoists me up. My, quite daring. Who? Who is bleeding? What did you see? I just have enough time to raise my hand protectively before Sideburns' head explodes in my face. My dress is soiled with blood and pulverized brain matter. You. Also, really? I was expecting a fierce argument ending up in a fight. I did not expect Dale to be so trigger-happy. Oh well. No. Screams Gamelin, taking out his own pistol. How could you? They throw themselves at each other in a mad tangle of limbs, trying desperately to angle the barrel of their guns towards soft flesh. I need to go back to Elise. I have to. I know what you will do to me. Traitor. Did you not swear an oath like all of us? Are you so ready to forfeit your immortal soul? Screw this. I'm not cursed. I can't be. I'm God's chosen. Yes, God's chosen. Father Armand also used to tell me God loved me, and yet here we are. I watch with interest as they wrestle on the blood-soaked ground until it looks like Gamelin has the advantage. He slams Dale on the ground. Instead of fighting both his previous colleague and gravity, Dale suddenly pushes his arm down. In the brief moment of leeway he has, he aims his gun up and shoots. The bullet misses Gamelin by a wide margin. The cloud of ignited black powder, however, does not. The poor sod recoils and reaches for his eyes. The turncoat does not hesitate. He grabs the discarded gun, turns it on the man he called his brother and fires it at point-blank range. Gamelin's head whips back. He collapses, dead. I am sobbing and crying on the ground. Only my pathetic mewling and Dale's heartfelt curses break the silence of the grave that has befallen this clearing. Eventually, he stands back up and walks to me. No, please, please. I haven't done anything. I know. I am sorry. I have no choice. He says, while aiming one more pistol at my head. He turns his head away with an expression of pure guilt. On his cheek, a single tear trails down. He pulls the trigger. After the echo of the gunshot has died, he falls to his knees. For a long time, there are only bitter tears of guilt until finally he bellows his pain to the heavens. Why? Because you broke your oath. Dale turns in fright as I stand up and brush the grass from my knees. Now the travel dress has stains of blood, brain and soot. What a chore it will be to wash. What? No. I don't understand. Who are you? What is this? This is a passable rendition of the turning of a friend, with you in the role of the traitorous companion, and me as the puppeteer. Although, to be fair, you made it too easy. How are you still alive? I shot you in the head. Correction, you shot at my head. You missed. It's impossible. I am insane, completely insane. This is just a dream. Yes, just a dream. What an interesting development. He is losing his mind. I approach and kneel in the grass in front of him. The cross on this man's chest burns my hand when I grab it, but I still manage to tear it off. It hurts, right? All of this. Yes, please make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. Let me wake up. I will make it all better, little oath-breaker. Just hold still. He tastes like a play led to completion, and a hint of curse. Not bad. Loth and Dalton clap politely as they enter the clearing. Dalton piles the carcasses, Loth checks the priest's belongings, and I gather firewood to build a pyre. Dale was a traitor and a fratricide. I look down upon him while I respect Sideburns, whose name I never learned. It is curious that I would harbor the least resentment to those who could have harmed me the most. I only feel respect for those who follow their beliefs to the end, even if it means that they need to destroy me. Perhaps it is. Are ye tipsy again? What? PSH, no, absolutely not. I would if I drained 3 people and I only drained 2. So there. Are you sure? I remember that werewolf blood is potent. That was only 1 werewolf and half, so it doesn't count. Ye are being contemplative, lass. You are contemplative when you're tipsy. Am not. I am perfectly fine. All right, sorry. By the way, why are you adding their muskets to the bonfire? Technically, they're made of wood. Mostly. Right, lass, of course. Go sit down for a minute or 2. Acting is hard. The towel is hung, the tub is empty, and my bedroom's secure doors are locked tight. Loth retired after a last attempt at creating a magical skeleton key, his latest project. Dalton is long asleep. I walk naked to my bed, not the sarcophagus, and plop onto its soft mattress. It smells of soap. I smell of jasmine and the subtle spice of vampire skin. The canopy covers me in soft blue tones. I run a finger down my torso. The cloth trails against my skin without breaking it, until my hand stops just below my navel. I turn my head to the nightstand upon which rests another of Jimena's gifts. It is a rare print of a story about a shepherdess and far too many handsome noblemen. I am going to have myself some me time. I open the book with one hand and start a new chapter titled "In which our heroine absconds to the woods with Don Miguel." What a delightful turn of events. And Don Rodrigo. Oh, my. Alas, as I start reading, the bell rings. The urgent bell. The one that signals that Loth has an important matter that needs to be addressed immediately. Perhaps I can rip it from the wall and pretend it was an accident? With a resigned sigh, I pull on a nightdress and undergarments, don a pair of slippers, and promptly exit my room. As expected, the house is dark and deserted. No fire, no intruder, and generally, nothing that warranted me being disturbed at this most inopportune moment. I swallow my annoyance and climb upstairs. I hope this is truly important. I find Loth in the smoking room in a fine silk robe and a lowball glass full of whiskey. An empty bottle lies on the table at his side. The dying fire reflects in his dark eyes. Sensing the mood, I silently sit in front of him and wait. He slowly brushes his hand over his face, then pinches the bridge of his nose. When he can no longer delay, his voice starts rough from stress and the burn of liquor. "It's your fault, you know." He sounds defensive. "Many things are my fault. You will have to be more specific." Loth puckers his mouth, moving his great beard in comical fashion, and finally hands me a rumpled letter, which I open. The text is entirely runic. My study of his magic system allows me to decipher a few key elements: wife, ship, arrival, A few runes that refer to people as well as a time coordinate which I realize is 3 days from now. It does not take long to piece the puzzle together. Loth? I shake the paper like a flag. How long have you had this? GRMGMLMLM or GMRL? Loth. A month. The silent watcher saved me from procrastinators. Am I to understand that your correspondence has been fruitful? No. As soon as Liechni, that be me wife, found out I was alive, she managed to track me down and now she's on her way to Savannah. With that damn Rollo. Rollo who showed his posterior to the King of England or swine kisser Rollo. Neither of them, it's a third one I never mentioned before. Ah. I see, he's a wee bit of a cunt. I splutter in outrage but Loth cuts me off. Don't ye start. I'm wroth, and I'll damn swear if I feel like it. Damn it. I have to confront them. Else they'll come here and I'll never hear the end of it. I can imagine the commotion. All those widows coming here for a roll in the hay, finding out that their paramour is still married. Scandalous. Well, more scandalous at any rate. I feel a bit responsible. I could convince them to head back. Loth's eyes are reduced to slivers under his thunderous brow. I had to needle him before the temptation to cut and run could grow too strong. Now his pride will not let him retreat. I can solve me own damn problems, thank ye very much. Just. Yes? Can ye come with me? For safety? Of course. Hold on, lass, ye think I'm being metaphorical. Am not. That Rollo was 3 snakes and a gambeson. You suspect foul play? Suspect? No. I expect foul play. So you and I are going to make a short list of contingencies in case I'm not as paranoid as you think. Of course, Loth, I shall endeavor to assuage your fears. Assuage? Come on, Ariane, stop being so damn respectable for one damn second. No. Please? Bah, fine, but just this once. If they dare touch you, I will fuck them up. Thank ye, lass, but did you mean to say that ye'll shove their heads up there? Do not press your luck. I never knew one could infuse so much meaning in a single gesture. Some smiles are worth paragraphs. Loth's sigh spells an entire book. Regret, anxiety, shame, hopelessness, resentment, disappointment, the list is long. We have set up a meeting point in a rather expensive inn at the edge of Savannah. 3 people just arrived. 4 had gone down the walkway a day before, carrying with them a massive crate. Big enough to contain an oversized man, like Loth for example. It does not take a genius to suspect that they want him back with a bit too much enthusiasm. I am feeling out of sorts, Ariane. I am not quite sure what to do. What does your heart desire? Loth turns to me and I am reminded of the warrior in my vision, the one who had laughed as he had buried his axe into another man's chest. Let's not go there. What my heart wants now, even you would object, say it dishonors the hunt or some such. I feel a rush of excitement. This is not about the hunt, this is about retribution. Those kin of his intend to commit some terrible offense, breaking their oath in spirit, and to their own blood no less. They would accept his offer of peace with ill intent in their hearts. Oath breakers. We should make an example out of them. Peel them open one by one, extract their secrets like marrow from a bone. Send back the dregs. Let the rest witness the cost of transgression. Do not tempt me, lass, I beg of you, do not tempt me. I wipe the ghastly smile from my face and retract all of my fangs. If Loth were after justice, his wife would be dead. He is after closure. I do not want to push him to do something he might regret. He deserves better from a friend. You want to confront them? Spring the trap? It's bloody stupid, is what it is. He mulls it over for a while, like prodding a wound to see how painful it is. When he finally turns to me, all his emotions have been boxed in tight. Only cold anger remains. I need to know. I look through the window. The inn is suspiciously empty. Only one table is occupied, around which Loth's relatives and spouse are sitting. The stocky blonde must be Liechni, and she looks nervous. The other 2 share my friend's muscular frame and lush beard. The one on the right is an apprehensive red hair, the one on the left has hair as black as night, curled in an elegant do. He has a vicious countenance to him, and I would bet solid gold that this is Rollo. As I look, he reaches mechanically for a bulge on his side and I see the glint of chain mail. They are armed, and armored. Of course they are. Loth moves back from the cover of the carriage and stretches. Joints and bones pop like a military fanfare. Well, here goes nothing. Loth? I was thinking. Yes? Is it really kinslaying if they are your in-laws? Surely that should be acceptable. Heh? The large man only graces me with half a smile, but he feels less brittle. The raw grief is now covered by a veneer of fatalistic contempt. Before leaving, he turns to me one last time. Thanks, Ari, and? I am counting on you. I nod in acknowledgement. Liechny's party is not stupid. They must have planned for Loth to resist and have measures in place. If they are not fools, they will have many. It is time for me to fulfill my end of the bargain. I circle the inn out of sight, find an empty alley and climb on the wall. In a few short hops, I am next to the inn's roof. Now, if I wanted to bring Loth back to his country with me, I would first try to convince him peacefully. It would only cost time. That is why Liechny is here herself. Failing this, I would make sure he is tranquilized. That is why the shadow I see detaching itself from the second-floor window is here. So much treachery just to try to get him back. If they truly understood the man, they would know that 5 of his cousins and a 2 weeks drinking binge would do the trick. The silhouette moves enough that I recognize the shape of a man. I am intrigued. I cannot feel a single flutter of magic coming from him, and yet there are clearly some occult shenanigans at play here. A concealment binding? I have difficulties seeing this person work. His actions come out as a jumble of movement that I find hard to follow, not because they are fast but because they are confusing. I manage to perceive more by not staring directly at him. He dangles from the roof and slowly lowers himself in front of a window. I see a glyph being hung on top of it, and then he rolls back, giving me clear access. Runic inscriptions of the script Loth favors are engraved into a transparent disc. They circle a pale blue stone in intricate patterns. I see several iterations of the same instruction: stop, surrender, sleep. If Loth jumps out the window, he will drop like a stone. The strange man now lowers himself on top of the door. If I wait, the cloaked man may go back inside. If I attack him and I am heard, Loth may burst out of the door and be instantly incapacitated. What should I do? I decide that the ability to escape is more important. I wait for the man to get back in through a window and jump silently on the inn's roof. I climb down the wall using claws and study the first glyph once more. It has been fastened to the top rail with an adhesive substance. I also taste a small spell. There, next to the glyph, is a small rune of alarm. It will warn its user in case of tampering. That will draw the stranger man out. I move. I rip both glyphs from the wall and rush back up, first on the roof and then on top of the window. I hide myself and focus on my senses. For a full minute, nothing happens, then the bare sound of well-oiled hinges tickles my ears. Coming from behind. Ah, curses. I stride silently across the roof until I am atop another window, lean down, and then wait. The light sound of the pane opening stops and stills. I wait. Then something small appears in front of me. It looks like a small silver disc at the end of a metal rod. The disc rotates. This is a mirror, which means I move forward and over the edge. As I spin down, I grab a gloved hand and pull it down. The window pane crashes on the site as a hulking form barrels past me and into the streets below. And that is wow. I roll to the side to dodge a bolt. I start moving too late. Fortunately, the arrowhead pings harmlessly against my arm guard. As I watch, the figure twists on itself and lands on the ground with perfect grace. I must not underestimate that one. I jump down the ledge. As I fall, my foe fires another quarrel. This time I am prepared and barely manage to block it again. I rush him, dodge to the side as he slashes me and stab him in the leg. Or at least, I try to. The man grunts and stumbles, but when I withdraw my blade, there is not a drop of blood to be seen. I move and dodge as several silver knives whistle past me. As I step back, my opponent throws 2 knives at the same time. I almost miss the small flask that follows them. His aim is off, so I simply duck and move forward. Then something explodes behind me. Incredible heat basks my back and I'm sent tumbling on the ground. I'm on fire. I'm on fire, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. No. No. Must run. Must not run. I roll on the ground to extinguish the worst of the flames, jump back on my feet and sprint away. I turn the street corner. There, a water barrel. I lift it and empty it on my head. Immediately, a cool sensation spreads down my body. It brings me clarity of mind, and with it, the pain. It stings quite a bit. The acrid aroma of cat pee then assaults my delicate nose. It seems that the barrel contained more than just rainwater. Marvelous. Fair enough, you sorry excuse for a devious scoundrel. If your armor can stop my blade, then I shall have to teach you the meaning of blunt force trauma. I spot a half-sun rotting beam placed against the nearby wall and dig my left-hand claws in it. I ignore its mushy consistency and run back. The shadow warrior is hobbling to the end when I approach. As I watch, he discards an empty vial, probably a potion of some sort. His movements are still harder to spot the more directly I look at him. I sprint silently and I swear he must have felt my eyes on his back. He twists and shoots at the same time. Another quarrel is soon embedded in the beam, which I use as an improvised tower shield. When I reach him, I swipe the heavy piece of wood in a circle aimed at his legs. As expected, he jumps up. As he is still in the air, I simply continue my motion until the circle completes, and goes on. The second passage does not miss. The beam hits him in the side and knee. At the same time, I reflexively twist as something rakes my chest. A blade cleaves the scales of my armored dress, parting them like water before stopping at the limit of my heart protector. The solid steel barely blunted the blow. I cough blood. A second later, the pain makes itself known. I hiss in agony, a sensation that only increases when a burning sensation spreads along the wound. Kill now. Crush the head and drain the others. At this point, both of us stop. Something happened inside, something that was bad enough to trigger an event both awesome and terrible. Loth is angry. Perhaps the word pales to reflect the reality of it. Truth be told, Loth is mad with anger. A fierce bellow, less human and more like the clarion call of a great horn, pierces the night's tranquility like thunder from a cloudless sky. Loth is angry. He is in danger. HSSS. I need to move. I need to ignore the pain. I take one slow step forward, another. Loth needs me. I will not fall. Especially not by one who thinks he can dwell in the shadows. The night is mine. The shape turns and lobs something at me. I throw the beam. A vial breaks against the wood with a sizzling sound. An instant later the heavy object lands on its target with the ominous crack of broken bone. Acid eats at the darkness until it turns back into a screaming person. An armor made out of strange leather covers him entirely, and a few runes on his chest are being damaged by fuming acid. His head is covered by a helmet that would make Loth proud. Well, aren't we covered in expensive gear? Let's see if we can put it to good use. I lean forward and grab him by the ankle before moving back to the entrance with the prisoner in tow, just as the sounds of broken furniture and crashing glass herald the start of a true rampage. As I reach the window, I throw my fallen foe through it. Damn it, it still hurts. Gah. Note to self, move conservatively until the wound is somewhat better. I carefully hoist myself atop the broken sill, then fall heavily on the ground. I push myself up and stand witness to devastation the likes of which I had never seen before. Every piece of furniture but for the counter has been reduced to splinters, shards of broken glass litter the floor, and the room is still lit by virtue of the lanterns being stuck to the ceiling. The red-haired man has been planted to his elbows through a wall of cheap plaster. Rollo is frantically trying to remove the chair leg embedded in his hand, while Ickney is hugging the wall with tears in her eyes. In the middle of it all stands Loth. His presence weighs on the back of my mind as if he were 3 times the size. I know for the fact that he still fits in the inn, but when I look at him, I see a giant. His elegant vest is now torn and scruffy. Breaks here and there show corded muscles flowing faintly with the twists and planes of tattooed runes. When he sees me, I fear for a second that he will not recognize me. A blink later and I am apparently in the clear. Number 2, please. I collect a secured vial of antidote from a pouch on my belt and pass it to him. Because of the continuous pain, I almost miss. Loth removes the silvery cap and swallows its contents down in one gulp. Then he crushes the metal container as if it were made of paper. Loth walks to the leather-clad form on the ground and holds it by the neck. With a beautiful arc, he slams it on the counter, which sags noticeably under the brutal assault. A moment after, the helmet comes off. My opponent is a rather handsome man with a clean-shaven face. A vertical scar runs down his face on the right side, barely missing the eye. Loth's anger turns cold. He addresses his wife in English with a deceptively low voice. If those people were not part of his family, they would be formless meat on the ground by now. Even then, I do not know if we will finish the night without a death. Skjol. You brought Skjol with you. You intended to kill me? The blonde woman blabbers in their native language. You have lost the right. I will not sully our tongue by sharing it with the likes of you. Now I am going to ask you again. Did you truly mean to kill me? Loth, I interrupt. He plays stunning glyphs on the door and window. I finish the sentence and then cough some more blood. I spit reddish phlegm on the ground. So unladylike. Ah well, this is not the time to worry about such things, really. Just then I hear footsteps outside. Slowly, I try to get to my feet and wince. Never mind, let me stay there for a little while longer, unless my assistance is required. Thankfully the wound has healed a bit and the pain is now barely tolerable. A fat guardsman and 4 others at his side crash through the door with all the authority and outrage they can muster. Now what is the meaning of? The squad falls silent as they take in the damage and, square in the middle of the room, the cause of it. Hey! I say. 5 pairs of eyes turn to me and I grab their attention like one grabs a handful of stocks. With that many people, I will not be able to work any subtlety, nor do I have to. Few entities could stand before Loth now without feeling a bit of apprehension, and these guards do not qualify. Flee. They leave with commendable speed. Amusingly, the head guard takes the time to dip his hat in polite farewell before slamming the door close. He has more self-control than I gave him credit for. The woman speaks in anger and disbelief. Loth's answer worries me. He might hurt them in his fury, and he already did, but what I hear now is different. He has gone full cold. She is a vampire. And as to why I favor her over you, I shall tell you. With each sentence, he comes closer to her. She does not demand I stop being who I am. She does not demand I stop liking what I like. She does not demand I forget the past. She did not come to abduct me like some cheap highwayman. She did not poison my bloody drink. She always has my back, and last but not least, their faces are only a hand apart now. She did not shag my brother for power, she protests. I don't care why you did it, only matters that you did. Now, whose brilliant idea was it to kidnap me and bring me back to the country trussed up like a dead boar? She closes her eyes and cries. Ye don't have to answer. Ye don't have the guts. Skjol never starts anything in Hardrade is far too daft. Loth goes for Rollo, who was crawling on the ground towards the stairs. He grabs him by the back of the neck and casually smashes him in the far wall, then he takes each arm and calmly breaks them at the elbow. This is savage even by my standards, though this vengeance is not my own and so I remain silent. When he is done, he pulls him up by the collar. Rollo tries to say something, only to be cut off by a terrible right hook. When I took the title of Jarl, I made an oath never to shed the blood of my kin. Just as he made an oath to always protect the interests of the clan. Well, lucky ye, we will both hold our promises in our own way, I suppose. Loth encircles his treacherous relative's head in his massive arms. Once it is locked, He twists right, then left. The sound of shattered bones echoes through the room, soon joined by Lietni's horrified sobs. He is not done. Loth drops the corpse like it is garbage and walks to her. He takes something from his pocket and throws it on the filthy ground. It's a golden ring, with beautiful inlays. Consider yourself divorced. He turns away and leaves. When he sees me still on the ground, he kneels. I did not notice, but the front of my dress is slick with glistening black blood. The wound is not completely closed yet. Without a word, Loth grabs me under the shoulder and takes me up into Princess Carrie. I let him. I trust him. We reach the door and he kicks it down. The crowd outside lets us pass in wary silence. We reach the carriage with no one stopping us. Loth helps me up, and after signaling Asmi, and waiting for a few seconds, we depart. I do not move. I do not even pretend to breathe. This is technically my fault. Had I not pushed him, he would not have contacted them and he would not have been forced to kill one to make a point. There would have been no ambush. I thought I had done well. I thought this would help him. I was wrong. There was nothing to gain from facing the past, only scars to be reopened and old blood to be shed anew. Ariane, dimmest vampire on earth. Bah. Why are ye so down, lass? It should be me. How can you even tell? Ye got perfect poker face, what with not breathing and looking like a statue, but when you're sad ye bend your back a bit. I chuckle lightly. Is this how I manage to lose every game I play with Dalton and him? I should have stabbed myself in the foot the day I told you to send the letter. Nah, you were right. This had to be done. You're not mad? I am mad. At them, at myself, at this fucking world that took Agna and left me with those rotten fucking snakes, but not at ye. I was stupid, too afraid and in a rush to just get this over with. I forgot all I had learned those past decades. And what would that be? Politics. Like it or not, I'm a public figure. I can't just waltz in with a smile on my face and expect those twats to leave me the fuck alone. If I want to enjoy the presence of my kin without being used all the time, I gotta prepare, gather allies. Only when I have a chance to be my own man will I return. Constantine showed me how to do it, but I was not ready. You may have noticed, but I am not the most subtle man around. Understatement of the century. I somehow successfully hold my tongue. But when Loth is incensed, he is quite foul-mouthed. I, Ariane of Clan Mirari, will assist you in this endeavor. I may have access to a safe way to send your letters. Why, thank you. And now, O Ariane of Clan Mirari, the mighty vampire, care to explain why you stink like cat pee? I was on fire. I had no other choice. There was this barrel. Right. Chapter 37. I open my eyes to an embroidered canopy. In the distance, the pops and hisses of the hearth's fire welcome me. I know where I am. This is my mind fortress in all its slumbering glory. I hear a deep sigh coming from outside. I walk down a flight of stairs to the grand entrance. The gates open as I pass. Under the serene gaze of the watcher, flower beds extend on manicured lawn according to a bizarre pattern. I make my way to the nearest wall of towering thorn trees and they part before me. The clouds of the in-between flow past all around before resolving into a familiar sight. Nashoba is leaning against the shell of his giant turtle. He holds his head between two hands, his knees close against his chest. He looks more vulnerable than I have ever seen. I walk to him and sit on the ground. Why the sorrow, shaman? Ah, daughter of Thorn and Hunger. I did not mean to interrupt your torpor tonight. Think nothing of it. Are you in danger? Nashoba is one of my favorite humans. I would be displeased if he were to die before his time. No. It is not that. Do you remember what I said about planting and weeding seeds? You remove threats before they do too much harm? He smiles sadly. It is so much like you to forget the growing part, though you cannot be blamed. What matters is that I failed. Perhaps it is not too late? It is. The winds of war are blowing, Ariane. I see crimson clubs raised high to the north. Nothing will stop it now. It is inevitable. North means the Muskogee. If they seek war, it will not be against you, no? You miss the point. Every year more of your kind spills on the shore in search of fortune, and every year the newcomers head west to look for land. They find us. This conflict will give your chiefs the cause they need to impose yet another treaty, ancestral land swap for a few crates of goods. Ah, look at me, trying to hold back a river with 2 twigs in my bare hands. Nashoba sighs heavily once more. Never mind that, Ariane. There is more to discuss since you are already here. Yes. Let me worry about what I can still change. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. The tortoise behind him rumbles lightly. Death is coming, of a scale that this land has not seen before. We must stop it. You must seek a key that breaks. I remain silent for a moment, expecting him to go on. He does not. How unusually cryptic of you. I know. The flaw only started moving its pieces and something obscures my sight. You must pull on the threads of fate, Ariane. Whack the bushes and see what comes out. If you uncover enough, a pattern will emerge. I appreciate the trust, old friend. I only fear that you overestimate my reach. I do not. This much I know, you will be instrumental in this struggle. Should you fail, this evil will run its course. Test the limits of your hunting grounds, daughter of Thorn. Do not leave the initiative to our foe. Nashoba stands up and stretches, looking slightly better than before. I must leave you now, we will speak again later. The man moves his hand, the tortoise opens one blind eye, and I fall backwards into slumber. 17th of July, 1812, Higginsville, Georgia. It has been 9 years since I became a vampire. I cannot agree with my kind's way of measuring age. I am 28, with all the experience and knowledge I gained during that time. I draw as much from my human years as I do from what happened after. I lift the top of the sarcophagus. Soft blue light shines on my bedroom. I lift an arm and look at the black nails that end it. If I had not gone to the ball on that fateful night, my body would be different now, marked by childbirth and the passage of time. Instead, it appears exactly the same as the night I died, to the last strand of hair. Appearances are deceiving, however. The human Ariane could not eviscerate werewolves. What has visibly changed is my room. I used to think it spacious, back when I had 3 items and a broken backpack to my name. It is now cluttered with books and trophies representing my various pursuits. I stock my best works on the wall, portraits of Dalton I draw every year, as well as one of Margaret Mitchell I made before she died, a Muskogee on his farm, a black child asleep outside of his house, a cha-cha dance. All of those are painted as seen by my vampire eyes, colorful and vivid even in the dead of night. In the middle, I placed my most ambitious work, a partial rendition of The Silent Watcher. Drawing the vampire Astor is difficult. When I look up, I reach a state of serenity that is not conducive to the observation of physical objects. Rather, I can focus on parts of it but never the whole. After 3 days of fruitless attempts I reach the conclusion that it simply does not obey the laws of physics. I will never be able to draw it as it is, for even if my brain could comprehend what it perceives, my tools would not allow me to do it justice. And so I tried to draw a feeling instead of an image. I found a set of colors between purple and red, and after almost a month of frantic efforts, I finally succeeded in capturing a glimpse of what it feels like to be in its presence. Dalton and Loth did not like that, not one bit. Merely looking made them extremely uncomfortable, they said. I count that as a major success. On either side of the wall, I placed bookshelves. They are filled with copies of Loth's own books, as well as quite a few others I managed to acquire courtesy of the Rosenthal Consortium. I am now well versed in several mage traditions and systems, although it is still completely beyond me to work anything myself. I also purchased books on hidden history as well as magical fauna and flora. I also have my own notebooks, packed with references and observations on subjects as varied as shamanic magic and gunsmithing. Finally, the center of the wall is occupied by a desk containing my current subject of study as well as important letters. The most precious one is written in the tongue of a Kate by a steady and refined hand. It reads like this. Ariane of Clan Irari. Your request to join our community as an independent house under the Accords has been approved. You will present yourself as well as all relevant witnesses at the 1820 conclave taking place in Boston, Massachusetts, where you will be given the opportunity to argue your case. I wish you good fortune in this endeavor. With regards, Constantine. This specific letter is currently my most precious possession. It is the hope that soon, I may come across one of my kind without having to fear slavery or death. I owe it to Jimena, who submitted my request at the previous gathering 2 years ago. It is unfortunate that such events only occur every decade, and yet it perfectly reflects the laissez-faire attitude of the current speaker, the same attitude that may allow a Devereux reject to reach legal status. The wait is a small price to pay, all things considered. Next to it are the correspondence with my father, Jimena, Isaac, who is back in Geneva, as well as a few business contacts and even a scholar or two. The table holds a single fiction, a work by one Cecil R. Bingle titled, In the Clutches of the Blood Cult, with an engraving of the man himself on the cover. He looks dashing and holds in his arms a funny woman thankfully inspired by Rose. It does star as a side character the sensual and mysterious Adrian, beset by an evil curse because of the sins of her father. Loth still laughs about it sometimes, although he slowed down on the "Oh ye sensual and mysterious lass, pass me the number 3 wrench" since I accidentally dropped it on his foot. Bingle, the mark of your passage still haunts me 8 years after. With a sigh, I get dressed and leave the vault. Loth has dropped 2 letters in a small basket by my door. I grab them and head up. I reach the smoking room and sit next to the man himself, busy snacking on a handful of nuts. Good evening, Loth. Evening, lass. Any good news? We shall see in a moment. I open the first letter and read its content. Our good Bingle is well in Sussex, and Rose is expecting their 3rd child. He takes a moment to mention something I was not aware of. Loth, why is Bingle lamenting the unfortunate state of affairs between our 2 great nations? Ah, yes, we are at war with the Great Britain. What? Since when? June. I just got the news. Something about illegal trade restrictions, arming the Indians and abducting sailors. War. How are you not worried? This country has no real standing army. This country, as you say, is not our worry, lass. Its citizens will kill us if they learn of what we are anyway. And this mindset will be of little help if a regiment of dragoons turns this entire town into a pile of cinders now, will it? Not to mention the Lancaster may want a larger piece of the pie if their home nation takes over. Ye worry too much, they are busy in Europe right now. And broke. We'll talk again if they make landfall. I do not reply. Loth is right, I do not have a squadron of ships of the line handy, so right now my ability to contribute to the war effort is laughable. I turn my attention to the second letter. I do not recognize the writing style and there is no return address. How peculiar. Well, let us see what this is about. Miss Delaney, if you are reading this, then I am dead. Well, we are off to a great start. I set an arrangement, so that if I were to fall, you would receive this letter as a measure of security. My name is Captain Alexander Jenkins. A few years back, you set me on the trail of the Brotherhood of the New Light, after revealing to me that my superior at the time, Captain Lands, was a member of this most sinister organization. Lands. Impossible. The Tillerson Estate Party. Is this act giving dividends after so many years? This is incredible. What I discovered went beyond anything I ever thought, or even dreamt to be possible. Alas, it is the truth, and no matter how strange my claims, how outlandish my accusation, I ask of you that you believe me. Heed my words and heed them well, for we are all in terrible danger. The purpose of this community of people is not to gather wealth and power, nay, It is to achieve eternal life by means most foul. You must find allies you can trust and take up the torch. For if we fail to stop them, I fear that we will witness horrors the likes of which civilization should have left behind. How very ominous. Nashoba, and now the dearly departed officer warning me of some impending doom? This is no coincidence. Please find in this envelope the key and deed to a safe box in the First South Carolina Bank in Charleston, where I secured my latest findings. I am sorry I could do no more. Good luck, and may God be with you. Yours, Augustine Alexander Jenkins. Here go my plans for the week. Something the matter, Ari? Somebody died and left me with inheritance. Oh, and what would that be? The burden of stopping a mysterious and dangerous conspiracy whose monstrous pursuit will leave uncounted victims in its wake should no one step up to face it. We ponder this for a few moments. I find that leaving money is usually better received. MMMMMH. Anything I can do to help? I need to go to Charleston. Ah, Charleston. The third seat of power for vampires in North America. That Charleston. The city Jimena unambiguously told you to avoid. That one, Yes. And what will you do there? I need to retrieve some incriminating documents from a safe. Oh, a heist. I love me some good heist. No, Loth, I have the key. Oh. He looks disappointed. You know, Loth, if you absolutely must commit grand larceny, why don't you just do it? It's the stakes. It's not the same if there are no stakes, you know. This is how I feel about hunts. I do. Now, I need to reach this bank, go in and out and leave with no one the wiser. Ah, finally we're talking. We'll get to proper planning, right after we celebrate your birthday. Death Day. Ah, whatever. Loth rings a bell. I hear the sound of something being wheeled to us as well as 2 heartbeats. An instant later, Dalton rolls in with a trussed-up captive on a sick bed, holding a lit candle in his manacled hands. Oh, so thoughtful. Happy birthday, mistress. Happy birthday, lass. MMGRGNFMMMLF. Oh, you shouldn't have, thank you, thank you. July 23, 1812, abandoned house on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I once thought New Orleans imposing. I believed it to be a major trade hub for slaves and agricultural products, a cosmopolitan metropolis to match European towns. How naive I was. Charleston sprawls before me, covering a fang of land nestled between 2 rivers as wide as a lake. Lines of ships reach and leave its waterfront through a channel heading east, into the ocean. The city has more than 15,000 people in expansive districts, more than half of them black. The rest comes from Scotland, Ireland, France, the Caribbean, Prussia. The list is long. The streets ring with the sounds of a veritable Babel's worth of language. There is a marketplace made from stone, an exchange and even a bank that was built to be a bank, like on the old continent. Truly, a beacon of civilization. Countless slaves, bales of cotton and other goods pass through it every day. I wish I could spend more time in it, walking its roads and browsing its stalls. Alas, that would be unwise. As the maps would say, hic sunt dragons, except here the dragons are real and will kill me for trespassing on their territory. And so, we are reduced to a smash and grab, as my friend would say it. It's been a long time since I prepared a heist, feels nostalgic, you know. It's not a heist. I have a right to that box. I have the key. We've got a plan, disguises, and exit routes. Sure feels like a heist to me, Bah. Nonsense. I grumble without much conviction. Go over the plan one last time, mistress. Dalton is serious tonight, even more so than usual. I have tried to hide my apprehension at coming across a master or even worse, a lord. I would not bet on my disguise over whatever senses they have at their disposal. I go to the bank on foot and come in from the front, completely ignore the people keeping an eye on the entrance and get access to the box the normal way. Then I exit from the side entrance and make my way south to the pier. If I am followed, I go through the designated ambush points. I take the rowing boat across the river to James Island and we meet between the two blue lanterns no matter what 2 hours from now. The most important thing is not to alert the local vampires of my presence, and so I will limit myself to human abilities unless discovered. Dalton nods and goes on. Is everyone ready? Yes, before you go, I have something for you. Loth takes out 3 ceremonial knives and gives each of us one. It's a tradition back where I'm from, for good luck. Stab one into the table. It will be waiting for you to return and so return you will. Go ahead. We stab our respective blades in the old wood and leave the room without a look back. The difficulty, I believe, is to stay in character. I am carrying 3 magical items right now, Nashoba's earrings, said to protect me from tracking, Jimena's blade as a safety, and a small pendant made from cut glass. The last one is Loth's most recent prototype, an attempt at reproducing the runes he saw on Skjol's armor. I did ask him how he managed to pay attention to those while smashing said Skjol into the furniture, and as usual the answers were rather evasive. The result is worth it. The creation should mask my cold aura from any casual viewer for the duration of the operation. I would have to come face to face with a vampire for it to fail. If I do not demonstrate any strange ability or otherworldly speed, no one will suspect a thing. The local vampires should not even imagine that their territory was breached. I am sure everything will go according to plan. I don't even know why I am nervous. I am going to the bank to retrieve something that is mine. There is no cause for concern. Really. I am greatly concerned as I walk to the bank's door through a small plaza. The building is large and solemn, made of sandstone and beige plaster interspersed with white. The windows of the second floor are tall and proud, looking down on the people below underneath the church-like cupola. There are no first-floor windows, and the customers enter the building via a single round arch gate that looks solid enough to resist a battering ram. It takes all of my self-control to ignore the 3 guns looking at the entrance like hawks. 3 is far too many, and I wish to believe they are not there for the safe, and yet I cannot ignore the obvious. If I had eliminated Jenkins and wanted to ascertain that my plot is still secret, what better way than to capture those who will inherit his notes? It is also likely that they would not dare breach the vault themselves to retrieve its contents while they can have some poor sap do it for them. Jenkins, what on earth have you stumbled upon? My disguise gives me the appearance of a middle-aged woman. It is heavily padded, except around the posterior, which according to Loth needed no modification. All my hair is hidden under a conservative bonnet and I look to everyone like a matron huffing and puffing her way through a late errand. A touch of makeup helps with the general impression. A doorman in uniform with a truncheon tips his hat as I pass by, and soon I find myself inside. The main lobby is soberly decorated with landscape paintings and wood panels. At this late hour, only one counter is open, behind which a fussy young man with a monocle is working. The lights are subdued, casting the interior in long shadows. A guard struggling to stay awake is the only other occupant of the place. "Can I help you?" "Good evening, young man," I say in a lower pitch than normal. "I would like to access my safe, please. Here are the deed and the key." The man inspects the key with apparent disinterest until he sees the number. His eyes widen in excitement and fear for a single instant. He mechanically licks his lips. He knows. This is bad. The bank has been compromised. "Of course, madam, of course. Please follow me. Barney. Barney." "Sir?" "We are going to the safes." "Very well, sir." There is no mistaking the brief pause before the guard acquiesces. I am now on borrowed time. I follow the short man deeper into the building, through a door and down a set of stairs. At this late hour, The place is mostly deserted and gives an eerie feeling of emptiness. After unlocking and relocking a few more barriers, we enter a small room under the watchful gaze of a heavily armed guard. Boxes cover the place, set into the wall. We quickly locate mine. We will now give you some privacy. That will not be necessary, I answer as I open the safe. It contains a notebook, as well as several plans and letters in a great bundle, which I place in a secure briefcase provided by Loth. It should protect the documents well enough provided I am not set on fire. I quickly close and lock the safe, then turn to my guide. I am done, thank you. Drops of sweat trail down the paper pusher's brow and he practically fidgets. The armed man looks from him to me with a curious gaze. Whoever he is not involved. Shall we? Ah, yes, of course, please follow. So far so good. It is now time for the next part of the plan. As we return to the first floor, I wait until he locks the door before addressing him again. One moment please, sir. Circumstances dictate that I take measures to guarantee my safety. Do you have another way out? The man's attention flickers towards the corridor behind me. As expected, there is a direct way to the bank's side entrance there. Yes, however it is for employees only. I do not believe that. Please sir, I am quite certain that there are people after me. He laughs nervously, panic making him practically sway. I think. I am afraid I must insist, I add, cocking a small pistol I took from my pocket. It is too much for the poor sod. He hiccups a few times at the sight of the firearm, then stares at me with tears flowing freely down his face. He completely lost his composure at the mere possibility of violence. So, he is fine leading me to a trap and yet one physical threat, and he crumbles like a house of cards. Typical. With no small amount of impatience, I turn him around and push him in front of me. We walk down the corridor towards the exit. I am about to turn left when I hear heavy footsteps. I grab the man and shove him in a side room, then follow him promptly. We listen in silence as a guard making rounds passes us by. My prisoner tugs insistently on a sleeve, and so I let him whisper near my ear. I cannot stay here, this is the women's restroom. I straighten and turn to him. Really? This is what you are worried about? Without me having to reply, he lowers his face in shame. How meek. Dalton truly is a rarity. I should show him some more appreciation. After the guard has left, I resume my escape and we quickly reach a square vestibule leading outside, with an adjoining changing room. I open it and shove my unwilling guide inside, stun him with a light hit at the base of the neck and abscond with his keys. Good, now I only need to get out and reach the docks. As I step outside, I take in my surroundings, then I turn around to lock it behind me and take a second to think. There is a bank guard eyeing me suspiciously, and a fourth goon in plain sight. Really, this is too much. I am out of options, I need to run. At human speed. For a second, I am almost overwhelmed by my instincts. I want to charm the guard into hitting the goon. I want to draw the goon into a side alley and feast on him. The temptation is strong, and yet I do not yield. The stratagem must be followed to its completion. I throw the keys at the guard who catches them by reflex, and I walk away calmly. There is around a second and a half of incredulity before they react. Hey you, halt. I take off with both men on my heel. I grab the bag between my hands and run at the upper limits of what the human body can achieve. The guard is soon distanced. However, the goon is not. Something strange is going on, something unnatural. The man is gaining on me, which should be impossible. I can also feel a trace of magic from him. He is no mage, nor is it something he carries. I am curious, but not curious enough to risk discovery. I turn south towards the piers and through the traffic. Even at this time, pedestrians, horses, and carriages navigate the streets in clumps. People turn towards us, but not many react beyond the odd shout. My pursuer is still gaining on me. I need to gain some time. I strafe left across traffic and turn onto a side road just as the goon is about to grab me. I skirt a horse coming from the side. The man, much heavier, smacks right into it. A neigh of pain as well as quite a few curses tell me I have earned a few seconds. I keep going and turn south again, weaving across clumps of people. There she is. I glance behind me to see, to my surprise, half a dozen horsemen bearing down on me. Well, this complicates matters. I focus on my hearing. We are not far from a marketplace. If I can last until there, I can hopefully lose them along the stalls. I run low to break line of sight and weave in and out of traffic. The pursuers struggle to follow, until their leader just pushes his way through a group of slaves without care. I jump against the tall fence and hoist myself in a garden just as he reaches me. Without pausing, I run diagonally across a carefully tended vegetable patch, frightening a nanny and a small dog. No time to stop. I cross the opposite wall into a minuscule side street, not even wide enough for a cart. Something makes me turn my head back. The horseman circling the house spots me and stirs his horse to a fast trot. On his face, I see a smirk of triumph, and of contempt. Light will be shed. He screams fanatically. I do not move. A feeling of heaviness assails me, of inevitability. The pursuer draws closer. When he is 15 paces away, reality takes a breath and the wall to his right explodes in a shower of splinters. Something just blasted their way through a wall. When the shards clear, a tall man is holding the goon by his throat. The horse is collapsed on the ground, dead. The newcomer is dressed in finery and has the countenance of nobility. His face is dreamy and regal, and his brown eyes are fixed on his prey with the arrogance of the mighty. When he speaks, his warm voice cuts through the din of the city with supernatural clarity. Buenos tardes, gentlemen. Finally, you reveal yourselves. Then he drops whatever it was that masked his aura. Power, glacial and overwhelming, crashes into me. I recognize this specific feel, like standing in front of a frigid wind roaring in my face. Oh, no. That is a bloody vampire lord of the Cadiz. I turn away to run just as the rest of the pursuers enter the alley. A man follows the lord through the crater he just gripped in someone's business. The newcomer is slightly shorter with a barrel chest and not quite as handsome. The vampire barely spares me a glance before turning towards the incoming cavalry charge. I can hear his words as I start running. Get the girl and bring her to me, alive. Yes, master. And off we go. Wonderful. An actual lord. If I wanted stakes, now I have them, for if this man approaches me, I am absolutely done for. I do not stand the ghost of a chance against that. I keep running south at the very limit of what would be suspicious. So long as I appear human, I may not be worth the effort. The person behind me is one too, and I can feel in my soul that he's the Lord's vassal. I should feel lucky that this is not a vampire, and yet I am not. The reason behind his master's trust is soon made apparent as my pursuer displays an incredible aptitude at moving through an urban landscape. I cannot compete, I simply lack experience. While I run around stalls, he jumps over them. When I pass a horse, he slides under it. He avoids crates, boxes, and bales with a sure foot and skirts gracefully across groups and individuals alike. I cannot lose him. Worse, I cannot hurt him in any way. My very being revolts at the thought. I even hesitate at throwing something in his path. In desperation, I start focusing on the movements of people. My perception slows and I follow a path that closes behind me, running at the edge of moving groups and passing carriages. Even then, he is about to jump on my back when a large man carrying a case of wine bottles abruptly turns and smashes into him. Both of them collapse in a tangle of limbs and broken glass. I can hear their exchange as I disappear into the night crowd. Watch where ye are going. Lo siento, senor. I must find that. Leave without paying for the broken stuff. I sure. Why don't ye also come to me house and shag me wife while ye rate it, you fucking walloper? A most timely rescue. Wait, do I smell blood? Blasphemy, we hurt him. No, no. He's fine. Completely fine. Please. Ah, damn it. The feelings of pain, surprise, and distress must have gone through the connection because something cold and absolutely massive is barreling down the avenue like some sort of natural disaster. I think he is running over the bloody roofs. Damn it. I need out. I need out now. I sprint low and fast across the street straight to the piers without stopping. The presence behind me stops for a handful of seconds, probably to ascertain the well-being of his protege, and then it starts after me. Curses, curses, curses. I accelerate just above human speed as the docks finally come into view. Stone pavement stops at the edge of the harbor and ships of many sizes rest lazily on the placid waves. I turn right in the direction of the rowing boat, knowing full well that I shall never reach it in time. I need an alternative. Thankfully, there are few people at this time, so I slide left behind a pile of crates and go over the edge. I grab the wall with a clawed hand, then lower myself into the water. I keep the small document briefcase on the top of my head. A few seconds later, the Cadiz Lord lands on the street. His aura bursts out like a miniature winter sun, and I huddle against the brick wall praying the silent watcher that Lothrun works. I do not move, I do not breathe. I even close my eyes. Spread out, search the ships. The man never raises his voice, and yet he can always be heard. I hear no other footsteps, which means that he gave those orders to vampires. There are a few choice words I heard Loth say that would be really appropriate right now. I need to cut line of sight. I spot a piece of flotsam and lightly place the precious documents on it with all the gentleness I can muster, then I fully submerge and turn face up, under it. The edge of the pier is distorted by the squalid water, but I can see and they cannot. With agonizing slowness, I drift along the wall towards my destination. Every time a shadow crosses the light's halo, I completely stop. I pass under bows, between wooden beams and through piles of detritus without a sound. Suddenly, a pair of boots appears just above me. I freeze. Please do not look down, please do not look down. A moment later, there is a sort of disturbance in the water not an arm's length to my right. Ah, it appears that I am being urinated on. Wonderful. If I feel a warm draft, this evening will truly be a complete experience. My unwitting abuser shakes his thing, spits for good measure and leaves. I wonder, with all those cotton bales hanging around, what are the odds of burning the whole city to a crisp? I am genuinely curious. At least he was not one of the vampires. Fortunately, the rest of the trip is uneventful. I do get a good sample of what Charlestonians throw into the sea, however. Forget fire, I fully intend to flay the entire populace alive and sew a giant flag out of their skins spelling the words, "No littering." I need a bath. I also need to forget. Eventually, I reach the rowing boat and drag it south 50 meters before daring to climb up. The trip south takes another 15 minutes of solid rowing. Who would have thought that a river could be so wide? When I see the two blue lanterns I almost cry. Loth and Dalton are waiting with worried expressions, turning into unmitigated relief when they spot me. I get off the boat and submerge again before joining them. Loth picks up the briefcase from the rowing boat while Dalton simply waits. Long night, mistress? I don't want to talk about it. I really hope this was worth it. Chapter 38 August the 3rd, 1812, Higginsville. I look around Loth's study number 3, the one he usually uses for storage and long-duration experiments. It has now been cleaned, emptied and placed at my disposal for my first complete project. Time and time again, I have conducted my own studies, written my own dissertations and run experiments. This time is different. This time, I am handling this task from beginning to end. And what a project it is, to go toe-to-toe with the mysterious Brotherhood of the New Light and prevent it from achieving its nefarious goals. I will not tolerate this sort of competition. Sadly, the room is mostly empty at this stage, although this is about to change. We have a basic map of the South Coast with a pin on Charleston and a few tentative ones in other cities showing possible Brotherhood presence. We have a list of names, ranging from bankers to officers with possible or proven associations with the group. We have movements of goods, people and funds, most being sadly outdated. Finally, we have the object of their current activity and the reason for Jenkins' demise. His last notes speak of an auction for the sales of a surgery set mostly intact belonging to one Andrew Exeter, as well as a shipping manifest for the Leucadia on its trip to New Orleans, dated 1792. The dearly departed officer mentions that most members know very little about the plan of the whole group, and so rather than going blindly from assumed location to contact and leave a trail of blood, I decided to exert subtlety, for once, and have Dalton consult the Port Authority archives in New Orleans. Alone, this time. I can start whenever, mistress. My vessel looks a bit rough around the edges. He has been riding for 3 days straight. His thin mustache, which he has taken to grow lately, is scruffy and his large amber eyes are bloodshot. Make your report and then you should catch some rest. Yes, mistress, he replies, not quite rolling his eyes. If I am without artifice, Dalton looks slightly older than me, perhaps like a big brother. This has made him more daring in public, going so far as to give me suggestions. How very daring of him. I ring so that Loth can join us and soon, we begin. I obtained the information we sought without difficulties. The man in charge of the archives is an old bugger with a sharp mind by the name of Kilbride. The first thing to know is that we were not the first to ask about the Leucadia. Some suspicious people came to inquire about the ship not a month ago. He answered fully and politely, though their dubious behavior was suspicious. Lo and behold, 2 weeks ago he had a break-in, 2 masked men with knives. He burned the brains of one and skewered the other with a cavalry saber from his days in the Light Dragoons. The curious thing is that they were quite strong and did not attempt to steal anything. It is obvious that there was an attempt to silence him. That is very thorough, my vassal. If we have further need of him, we may need to offer some measure of protection. That will not be necessary, mistress. I know all he knows on the matter. Dalton straightens up and clears his throat before continuing. The British merchant ship Leucadia was due in New Orleans in October 1792. However, it never arrived and was believed to be lost with all hands. The crew manifest from a previous voyage mentions one Andrew Exeter as ship doctor. This implies that the Brotherhood is after something, or someone, who was on the ship, and that the wreck itself must have been located for the surgery kit to resurface. I checked the shipment manifest, there was nothing of note. There were also no mentions of the ship taking passengers both in the archives and on the notes we recovered. That does not mean that there were none. I suspect that the Leucadia may have been used by smugglers or even the Brotherhood itself to transport sensitive goods or individuals. Illegal transport was and still is prevalent around here. So, we know that they were after what the ship transported. That does not tell us what it was. No, lass, it does not, but do let the boy finish. Dalton nods in approval before continuing. We were fortunate in having the archivist survive. He recognized his dead assailants as the men who had come to ask him questions and reported it to the guards. The lawman, however, saw the dead bodies and considered the matter closed. Typical. Indeed, and while they gave up, Kilbride did not. He was understandably miffed by the attempt on his life. He found out by asking around that the trespassers had come from the north on a direct coach from Milledgeville. We have been to this brand new city a few times. It was founded just after I started living with Loth, and the role of state capital was forced upon it during its infancy. He did not pursue, the risks were too high for his taste. Then we have 2 matters to look into. First, we need to find who sold Exeter's surgery kit to that auction, and second we need to go to Milledgeville, find out where the goons came from and ask some pointed questions. I need to go to Savannah to pick up some orders, lass. I will stop at the Rosenthal Consortium and request their assistance. There is no way someone held an auction without them knowing about it. As for ye should go and ask those questions yourself. He'd been a wee bit tense since we came back from the heist. For the last time it was not. Oh. Fine, I suppose that you are correct. I had to run away and hide like a cockroach. I thought it would not matter, but my instincts disagree. I need some action to take my mind off things. Very well. Dalton and I shall leave tomorrow evening. August the 6th, Milledgeville, Georgia. I do not know what would have occurred without your help, my dear Magdalene. You and your husband have our most sincere gratitude, I say as I lightly pat the woman's hand. I am currently acting the part of Mrs. Langford, of the Savannah Langford. I wear traveling clothes bearing the subtle marks of wealth, in light blue. The conservative apparel and my impeccable posture give me the air of the sign of a very good family. I complete the deception by sitting with confidence in the middle of the eating room like a noblewoman holding court. Poor Magdalene has ruddy cheeks and covers her distended belly with a sack-like cotton dress. They are a humble family of honest workers. Her husband is laboring at the forge to repair her coach despite the late hour, and the woman is doing her best to play the part of the gracious host. A gaggle of children peeks curiously from the door when she is not looking. Think nothing of it, she says with a blush. It is my honor, I am happy I could receive you. Oh dear, please forgive the poor reception, I have so little to offer. The woman is suitably flustered. It is I who should apologize for dropping by unannounced. Alas, man plans, and the Lord disposes. I can actually quote the Bible if I don't think too hard about which Lord I am referring to. Saying God will, I assume, remain an impossibility forever. We make small talk for a while, during which I praise her for her clean house and the impeccable morals and values it represents. Magdalene likes being the center of the conversation, especially while in my hallowed presence. She has much to say about Milledgeville and its most notorious citizens. Eventually, curiosity spurs her into asking the question that had been at the back of her mind since she invited me inside. And what brings you here in our beautiful city? Oh, I scoff, a most sordid affair, but I do not wish to burden you with the details. I do not know if it is even proper to mention them. I can almost see the fire of gossip burning bright in her honest eyes. An affluent midnight visitor? A sordid affair? Her fame in the parish will be made for a decade, sharing those juicy tidbits. Do not mind me, Mrs. Langford, we are hearty folks here. I am sure I have heard worse. I am sure as well. I reluctantly share my anger and outrage at being swindled so. 2 men from Milledgeville, coming to lodge at our family-owned Fluff House and leaving with the strong box. The audacity. What manner of ruffians could do such a thing? Magdalene is at first ashamed and displeased, until I mention that every city has its undesirables, and that it in no way impacts the respectability of its law-abiding citizens. We go on a tangent blaming the Indians for their raids until I specify that the scoundrels were clearly of European descent. No, they were not mulattoes. Yes, they were white, not half white. Were they Irish? Perhaps. Excited, Magdalene starts a long list of all the people she has grievances against, starting with her cousin who married a Catholic, to that thief of a tanner. Eventually, she mentions some disreputable persons at the warehouses and even out there among the plantations. It is at this moment that she stops in fear. If those men came from the Baxter estate, I beg of you, you must desist. Pa, I am accompanied by a marshal, what do I have to fear? No miss, you must not think like this. We may be the capital, but we are still a frontier town. This attracts all sorts, even the worst, and there are dark rumors circulating around. There are some who say that they are cannibals. They eat people? How monstrous. Heh? Those are just silly rumors, miss, do not take them at face value. I would still recommend that you exert great caution. The marshal's star will be of little use if you disappear without a trace. I shall take this into consideration. Let us forget about this, I add with a hint of suggestion, and talk about more pleasant matters. You said that you enjoyed sewing? My host shows me some of her work, fearful of my judgment. It is precise and expertly made, if unimaginative. I congratulate her and she acts pleased as can be. After an hour, Dalton and the husband inform us that the task is complete. I decline their invitation to stay under the pretense that we are already expected in town and we soon depart. Dalton leaves them a suitable bonus. We are delayed, mistress. The inn's main room could be empty. I will make discreet inquiries tomorrow. My time was not spent idly, my vessel. There are already places for us to check. We successfully located the base of the Brotherhood of the New Light at the Baxter estate. The members make a show of being isolationist and hostile, and so their neighbors leave them alone. Careful observation, however, reveals insignia, strange handshakes and a myriad of other behaviors that betray their allegiance. They are not even remotely discreet about it, nor do they have reason to. The Baxter estate covers easily 40 acres of land with exposed access points and several patrols. No less than 25 men work on it and tread in groups of 3, with attack dogs. This is less a safe house and more a fortress. This would not trouble me much in normal circumstances, however we are trying to get information and I will not obtain it through bloodshed. We need a careful approach, and to infiltrate the place properly. Abducting and interrogating somebody who might, in fact, know something remains a dawning prospect. The only one who displayed signs of authority is Baxter himself, who rarely leaves his enormous house. It is time for an abduction. August the 9th, Milledgeville, Georgia. I walk from shadow to shadow, 10 paces ahead of Dalton. I guide him through copses of large oaks and sugarcane fields. On the outskirts of the property the place is mostly deserted. This will change soon. My ears pick up a sound and I click my tongue. 2 clicks answer behind me. We retreat deeper into the woods. In front of us, 3 guardsmen and a dog walk the road. Despite the late hour, their attention is fully focused on their tasks and rays of light from lanterns swipe over the surroundings. The men do not speak. For this infiltration I dab peppermint oil on my neck and wrists. The smell is overpowering, and it should fool the hounds long enough for us to leave undetected. For some reason the perfume is fading very fast however, and I suspect that my nature is to blame for this. The patrol leaves none the wiser. I still wait for 30 seconds before signaling Dalton that we may go. The plan is simple. I will lead him to the estate, which he will enter alone as I would need an invitation. Dalton will use a simple charm loaf made to disable Baxter and get him out, as well as gather any incriminating documents we may find. We will then escape and interrogate the man at a remote hunting cabin, where we will also dispose of his remains. This is a basic scheme with little opportunity for errors. It does depend on us remaining undetected, at least until our target is in our hands, though I am not worried. If needs must, I have a petrol bomb which I may use on the silo of molasses we located close to the house. The subsequent fire should give us a nice distraction should we need it. I skirt one of the last fields to take a side path going around the property. With Dalton behind, I hasten my step when suddenly, something metallic snaps under me. I jump in fright and am still in the air when steel teeth join where my leg was but an instant before. What in the... Mistress? Whispers my vessel. I walk back to him and mutter in his ear. Bear traps. On the path. How paranoid can these people be? Not enough, it seems. HMF. Given the average lout's memory, I'm surprised they don't lose a leg a year, at least. Those groups do tend to have a high turnover. Shall we? Yes, I will keep an eye out for freshly turned earth, do be careful though. Dalton smirks ever so slightly. I will just walk slightly off the path. And if I see you bounce like a scalded cat again, I will know you found another one. Bah. He used to be so cute, looking up to me with adoration. Whatever happened? Truly, familiarity breeds contempt. We continue quietly until we reach a fence. The estate proper lies before us and in its middle, the colonial edifice Baxter calls his home. The entire area is flat and devoid of any form of cover. The well-cut lawn is just an excuse to deny any covert entry. I spot a sentry near the roof, as expected, and 3 more groups patrol the area with their dogs. Torches placed on sconces provide reliable light sources at regular intervals. There is no good approach here, I will have to brute force my way through their defenses. I signal Dalton to stay put and crawl forward, close to the ground. I move slowly and patiently along a tortuous path. I avoid the most lit areas and always keep an eye on the sentry. So long as the sentry looks the other way, I move quicker but not too fast. Humans are good at spotting rapid movement at the edge of their line of sight. There is no need to make a mistake trying to save 20 seconds. After a few good minutes of slow progress, I freeze as yet another patrol turns the corner of the mansion. Their path will lead them in front of me. I stick to the ground and wait. They pass me by and are about to go on when their hound stops and growls. Ah, this might be an issue. Thinking quickly, I reach for the bottle of perfume and open it, spreading some on the ground. In a few moments the unfortunate dog stops growling and starts sneezing instead. Thankfully, I am upwind. The men mumble and drag their whining charge forward. I take a breath in order to sign relief, a habit I have not managed to shake off yet, and regret it instantly. The assault on my nostrils is unbearable. Pwah! If I smell peppermint again before the end of the century, it will be too soon. When the last torch disappears around a corner I rush forward and start climbing the plaster walls to the sentry's crow's nest. It is nothing more than a repurposed balcony. I only tolerate one gaze watching me, and it is not his. I jump over the ledge and as his mouth opens in surprise, our eyes meet. I keep his attention captive as I choke him. As he loses consciousness, I release him and wipe the memory from his mind. I would prefer to leave as little evidence as possible. The man will simply believe he fell asleep. Once this is done, I take out a sort of whistle and blow it. The call of a bird of prey rings in the empty night. I watch Dalton's form run forward to join me. He stops and hugs the ground halfway to let a patrol pass through. His dark green coat is barely visible against the short grass. When he reaches the wall, I lower a rope and drag him up. He quickly joins me and immediately opens the window leading inside. As expected, it is unlocked to allow the sentry access. Dalton sneaks inside. I wait. Only someone who lives in a house can invite me in, so long as its inhabitants draw breath. We have determined that Baxter's study is most likely a room near the roof given that it is sometimes lit even at night. Dalton will try that first, then check the bedroom around for the man himself. I settle in to wait. This is the part one hates the most. I am not waiting for prey or for an opportunity, I am waiting for something beyond my control, and I hate it. It does not matter that Dalton is one of the most competent infiltrators in the entire country thanks to Loths and my training. All I know is that he's inside, and I am out. Even his heartbeat is beyond my ability to hear, masked as it is by thick walls. He is grown up now. I will not be the one to break his wings. In the meanwhile, I keep an eye out but besides the patrols, there is not a sound. Until I hear a gunshot. Even muffled by the walls, the deflagration echoes through the night with unmistakable clarity. Then there is this single second of silence, when the world takes a deep breath, and everyone stops to make sure of what they heard. After that, all hell breaks loose. In the distance and towards what we identified as the barracks, a bell rings frantically. Shouts erupt left and right and the night shines red with lit torches. I can see the dancing lights of lanterns rushing in the distance, all aiming towards us. The closest ones are about to reach the clearing. Hidden by the wall, the main entrance of the mansion is banged open by irate men. Dalton is fine, I can feel it through our bond. He will not stay that way if we make a break for it. I cannot kill them all before they shoot at us. We need a diversion. With apprehension, I take out the petrol bomb I prepared. I take out a matchstick and light it. Come on, Ariane, it's just a small fire, that will help us, really no need to burn. Gah! Fighting my own instincts, I light the fuse which sends angry sparkles everywhere and throw it at the molasses silo at the edge of the lawn. The projectile arcs beautifully into the night sky, leaving a trail of red embers. It lands in a small pool of incandescent liquid trails down the wall. I don't know what happens next. I think it touches an existing leak. No matter the reason, the fire spreads along a line to the ground and to the side with tremendous speed. In only a few moments, the entire structure is ablaze. The cries of alarm turn to sheer panic when a barn beyond our view catches fire as well. A cacophony of squeals, shrill and ear-shattering, soon smothers every other noise. It is the worst sound I have ever heard in my entire life. I get a sense of déjà vu, an echo of something that happened years ago. Something Jimena mentioned. I think it was in her advice letter. Oh yes, do not use pigs set on fire as a distraction. It never works as intended. Surely, she was exaggerating. It cannot be that bad, right? Something breaks open under the onslaught of porcine panic. Quadruped forms charge through fences, through the grass and into the building, rolling around and hitting things. Maddened with pain, they leave trails of flames everywhere, which spread like the plague. Some people in the distance open fire, and I can already hear cries of agony. One patrol in the distance is charged by a crazy animal and fall like pins. Two of the men catch fire. Fire everywhere. Must run. No, I need to wait for Dalton. The window behind me opens and he runs out, cradling his arm. He's bleeding. Must kill the foes. No, I must protect him. We need to leave. Now. I do not wait. I grab him into Princess Carrie and jump off. He screams in surprise. I manage to land properly and not break his spine. Without waiting, we start to run. The bowled-over patrol is almost directly in our way. I move forward. I need to protect him, and so they need to die. They see me and move as well. I almost stop in surprise. They are inhumanly fast. Well, nowhere as fast as me, of course. I charge the first one as he aims his musket, and just as I reach him, the silo explodes. For a single instant, it is day. Then the noise and heat reach us. We are all sent to the ground, head over heel, by the shockwave. Flaming debris rain everywhere. In the distance, some of the forest ignites. Something warm lands on my back. Hot, hot, hot. I roll on the ground before I am burned to a crisp. The budding flame is immediately extinguished, but it still hurts like hell. Need to get out. Damn it. I pull a shaky Dalton on his feet and drag him forward. One of the guards sees me and reaches for a holster. Oh no, you don't. I jump on him and grab his neck, then I devour him. Perhaps this will stop the pain. So little. This man has almost no vitality. I have drained ancient grandfathers with more strength than him. Bah, no time. We need to leave now. Dalton has almost reached the edge of the forest. I quickly finish off the patrol with a knife to the throat, thus also masking the bite marks, then I join him. We dive under cover. Cops on both sides are already engulfed by the raging inferno. Crimson embers reach for the stars. We rush out without a word, only stopping to let running men pass us. Thankfully, Dalton's wound is not serious, and he already staunched the bleeding. Eventually, we make it out and back to our hideout and hunker down for the night. August the 13th, Higginsville, Georgia. Lass, I did say ye should